The movie opens with Max, the company's celebrated Employee of the Month, persuading a young man, an illegal immigrant who has just turned 18, to sell 15 years of his life for 700,000 euros. It's a life-changing offer, enough to pull his family out of the ghetto where they've been trapped for 20 years, waiting on a visa, and even pay for his wedding to his longtime girlfriend. To gain the boy's trust, Max reveals that he once sold 5 years of his own life to a wealthy buyer. Navigating through a sprawling refugee camp that has swelled into a full-fledged city, Max eventually reaches the subway. There, the effects of technology are on full display. Elderly faces sit alongside children who look eerily the same age. On the other side of the subway's glass walls, the camp stretches endlessly, a bottomless farm of human life ready to be harvested for the rich. Outside the sleek corporate headquarters, a furious protest rages against the time transfer program, a system that allows the wealthy to live almost forever, feeding off the poor. But inside, the mood couldn't be more different. A grand ceremony is underway, and Max is front and center, honored as the company's top manager. In the last quarter alone, he has brought in a staggering 276 years of life. Following him on stage is Sophie Tyson, the founder of Ion and the brilliant mind behind the time transfer technology. She proudly announces that Ion's services, once reserved for 10,000 elite clients, will now extend to Nobel Prize winners through a newly created fund. Meanwhile, at a private Ion clinic, the first wave of scholars and dignitaries undergo adaptation procedures to receive their borrowed time. But the celebration is shattered when a hospital worker pulls a gun and shoots a woman in the head without warning. He storms through the clinic, methodically killing everyone who has received transferred time, sparing only their family members. Before disappearing, he leaves a chilling mark, the symbol of ADAM, a radical group fighting against the technology. Kaya, Sophie Tyson's personal bodyguard, reports the massacre immediately. In response, Ion hires a new head of security, Novak, a former cop known for his tough, no-nonsense approach. As the company scrambles to tighten its defenses, Max and his wife Ellen are lost in their own world, dreaming of a bright, carefree future inside a luxury apartment they haven't quite finished paying for. Max pictures a life even grander, a house by the lake, a safe place to raise the children they're eager to start having. Without wasting time, they begin working on that dream. Over the weekend, they visit Ellen's parents, but the reunion is tense. Her father openly disapproves of Max's job at Ion, convinced, and rightly so, that ordinary people are being treated as nothing more than disposable resources for the rich. On the drive home, tension brews between Max and Ellen, nearly tipping into a full-blown argument. But before long, the moment cools off. Unfortunately, bigger problems are waiting for them. When they pull up, they find their apartment in ruins, completely gutted by fire. Everything they owned is gone. Max tries to stay calm, counting on their insurance to cover the damage. But the brutal realities of their world hit hard. The insurance company refuses the claim, insisting the fire was Ellen's fault. They say she left a candle burning, classifying the disaster as negligence rather than an accident. As if that wasn't enough, the bank comes after Ellen next. They demand 40 years of her life, collateral she had unknowingly staked for their mortgage. Max immediately offers to split the debt with her, ready to take half the burden. But the nightmare deepens. He learns that the wealthy recipient who once bought his life years died in a car crash, and not even their advanced technology can revive the dead yet. Still reeling from the news, Max and Ellen leave the lawyer's office only to be stopped by police. They arrest Ellen on the spot. She's officially a debtor now. Desperate, Max rushes to Sophie Tyson, pleading for a €3 million advance to pay off Ellen's debt. Sophie, ever composed, promises to help her star employee, but soon after she heads into a board meeting where the atmosphere is far from sympathetic. Surrounded by young, vibrant executives, Sophie looks every bit the aging outcast. The new generation of leadership doesn't care about the technology's promise, only the profits it brings. The day of Ellen's forced debt collection arrives. Max and his lawyer head to the Ion clinic, determined to stop it, but security blocks Max from seeing her. Spotting a door left slightly ajar, he bolts through it, only to be tackled and restrained by Kaya. Dragged back to the waiting room, Max is helpless as Ellen is prepped for the transfer. After After the procedure, their new reality hits hard. They move into a crumbling apartment in a rough part of town, all they can afford now. Ellen can barely sleep, restless and broken, standing in front of the mirror at night, watching herself change. Aging, they realize, is a slow and merciless process. The next morning, Max gets a message from work. It's not help, it's a promotion. Furious, he hunts down Sophie and confronts her. One look at her tells him everything. She's been rejuvenated. She used Ellen's 40 years for herself. By evening, the full weight of what's happened crushes them both. Ellen has aged back to her true timeline. Max finds her applying makeup in front of the mirror, lost in existential despair. Without anger, without drama, she asks him to leave. Devastated, Max wanders to a park bench, drinking alone, lost in his failure. A little girl with a backpack approaches him, offering so-called healing pills. Cynical and broken, he brushes her off coldly. Later that night, worse news arrives. Ellen's been hospitalized. The time transfer damaged her body and she is miscarried. Max brings her back to her parents' home, their dreams in ashes. Quietly, he starts piecing together a desperate plan. He notices the little girl from the park again, still selling pills. Watching her closely, Max realizes the signs. She's been through illegal rejuvenation. Underground contacts could be their only way out now. After gathering the information he needs, Max taps into the last of his contacts and drains his savings, buying forged documents and a pistol. As he sets his plan into motion, TV broadcasts fill the background, reporting on the leader of the Atom Group, the voice exposing Ion's corruption and greed to the world. Not long after, Max spots an opportunity. Sophie Tyson's convoy heads to a cemetery. Strangely, she leaves her bodyguards behind and walks in alone. Max doesn't waste a second. Parking his car out of sight, he scales the cemetery fence, moving quickly through the tombstones. Near a central grave, he finds her Akane's Sophie, now so rejuvenated that Max hesitates for a brief, stunned moment. Sophie cries out for help, but no one's around to hear her. A short struggle ends with Max stunning her with a taser. Before disappearing, he leaves the ADAM symbol scrawled on the tombstone, a pointed message, then carries Sophie away. Max picks up Ellen next, urging her to trust him. He has a real plan. They drive far outside the city to an abandoned garage. Inside, Max shows her the unconscious Sophie, tied and helpless. His idea is risky but clear. Take Sophie to Lithuania and find an underground doctor who can recover the stolen years. Meanwhile, back in the city, Kaya and Novak launch the investigation. The former cop knows how to hunt people, and Max has left few traces. Still, their search starts closing in. Tension rises between Max and Ellen. They argue over the morality of stealing Sophie's time back, wrestling with what's right and wrong. But there's no time for hesitation. Sophie's private security forces are already moving in, ready to earn their massive paycheck. They approach the garage carefully, tossing in a flashbang to disorient anyone inside. But when they storm the building, they find nothing. Just a lit-up car left behind as bait. Max and Ellen have slipped away. Kaya takes more drastic measures, turning to illegal surveillance. She hacks into private accounts and security feeds, pushing the limits of her authority. Novak watches her tactics with growing discomfort, questioning the morality of their actions even as he flirts with Kaya, fascinated by her. Only later does he learn the truth. She's far older than she appears, kept young by Sophie's gifts of extended life. Their break comes soon enough. Someone uploads a selfie, and in the background, a clearly aged Ellen is visible. The location, a ferry bound for Lithuania. On board, Max keeps Sophie tied up in the back of a van, but their escape starts unraveling fast. At the port, blue and red police lights flash across the dock. Patrol officers are thoroughly inspecting every vehicle. Thinking fast, Max spots a family passing by, and a new idea forms. They quickly rearrange everything. A hired man now drives the van, while his wife handles a separate small car. Max and their daughter hide in the trunk, pretending to be hostages, while Ellen and Sophie crouch together inside a bathtub strapped into the back of the van. At the checkpoint, a border guard waves the nervous driver over and demands to open the back of the van. Suspicion rises as he asks to inspect the crate containing the bathtub. The driver's anxiety is obvious, sweat pouring down his face. When a senior officer steps in to question him, the driver breaks, stammering that he's just not used to having a gun pointed at his head. The officer scolds the overeager guard and waves them through. Once they're safely away, Max wastes no time. He frees the fake family but smashes their phones and shoots out their tires, making sure they can't report anything too quickly. After leaving the highway behind, Max and Ellen stop to let their prisoner use the bathroom. The girl insists her name is Marie, claiming to be Sophie Tyson's younger daughter, a secret child hidden away to avoid kidnapping threats. Max doesn't buy it. To him, it sounds like just another trick. They send a signal to the underground doctor and drive to an abandoned hotel, waiting anxiously for a response about the meeting place. Dragging Marie from the van, they keep her under close watch. She keeps repeating her name, but Ellen begins to worry. What if the DNA difference prevents the transfer? Max shrugs off her concerns. Close relatives, he reminds her, are usually compatible enough. Marie and Ellen ask for a simple kindness, permission to shower. Ellen pleads with Max to show some compassion. Reluctantly, he unties the girl. The second she's free, Marie grabs a door handle and smashes it into Max's face, making a break for it. She manages to snatch his phone and sprints into the night. Max gives chase but can't catch up. Marie disappears into the dark forest, eventually reaching a river. She spots another abandoned hotel across the water and wades in, clutching the stolen phone. She manages to call Kaya for help but drops the phone into the water mid-call. Moments later, she slips beneath the surface too. Caught in the bog, sinking deeper, Marie faces a terrible choice. Drown silently or cry out to the kidnappers. She chooses survival. Her desperate calls draw Max and Ellen back to her. They drag her from the water and return to the hotel. Afterward, Ellen helps the shivering girl to the shower, where she notices something unsettling. There are no scars from any rejuvenation surgery. Max dismisses it, blaming it on advanced skin rejuvenation treatments, but the doubt lingers between them. In a rare moment of peace, Max and Ellen lose themselves in fragile intimacy, but it doesn't last. Kaya's mercenaries, along with Novak, have already traced them to the hotel. Armed men storm inside, but they're not Ion's security forces. They're Adam's operatives. Max and Ellen are dragged before Adam's leader. She makes a startling claim. The girl isn't Sophie rejuvenated. She's her daughter. The leader reveals that Sophie had orchestrated everything. The fire, the donor's supposed death, all part of a plan to frame Ellen and steal her years. Finding a compatible donor for Sophie's rare DNA was nearly impossible. Despite her hatred for Aeon, the leader doesn't approve of taking stolen years from Marie. Instead, she offers Ellen a loaded gun, suggesting a grim alternative: kill the girl whose life had been valued less. Ellen hesitates, heart pounding, but eventually places the gun back down without pulling the trigger. The terrorists immediately move to their next phase. They lead Max downstairs into the depths of the building. Ion's forces are closing in, but Adam has a plan. Max must lure Sophie into the building alone. Their mole inside Ion has already made sure she's on her way. When the soldiers arrive, Max steps out into the open, dozens of rifles locking onto him. Calmly, he demands to see Sophie in person. After a tense pause, she steps down from her armored truck. Max persuades her that he and Ellen are only after justice, that no one needs to get hurt. But for proof that Marie is still alive, Sophie must enter the building alone. She agrees, starting forward carefully. As she walks, Kaya grows suspicious. She asks Max how he even knew Sophie would be here. Max has no answer. The truth clicks instantly for Kaya. It's a setup. The ADAM leader signals their mole to act. Novak draws his weapon and fires, hitting Sophie. Kaya reacts with brutal speed, shooting Novak down. A storm of gunfire erupts as Adam's operatives open fire, trying to finish the job. Ion's soldiers scramble, dragging the wounded Sophie to safety while returning fire. Amid the chaos, Max slips back inside, desperate to find Ellen. Racing through the halls, he finally spots her with Marie, and together they sprint toward the garage. Max fights with the ignition, fumbling to start the car. In a shocking turn, Marie pulls a hidden gun and points it at Ellen, then pulls the trigger. Nothing happens. The gun isn't loaded. Furious, Ellen lashes out, knocking Marie unconscious. They tie her up, shove her into the back seat, and peel out of the garage, racing toward the underground doctor's meeting point. Time is running out. If they miss the window, he'll be gone for good. During the drive, tensions boil over. Max's anger fades into guilt. He realizes that Marie is innocent. Taking her life would make them no better than the ones who wronged them. But Ellen, who has endured betrayal, loss, and near death, feels differently now. She wants her life back, no matter the cost. Their fight turns vicious. Ellen pulls a knife, demanding Max get out of the car. If he refuses, she threatens to cut her own throat, making all their sacrifices worthless. Reluctantly, Max steps out. Ellen speeds off alone into the night. She reaches an abandoned factory hidden deep in the industrial outskirts. There, trucks unload crates of medical equipment. Buses packed with kidnapped refugees arrive. Luxury cars roll up, carrying the wealthy clients who bankroll this dark marketplace. Ellen returns to the car to retrieve the battered, unconscious Marie. But by morning, a passing truck driver finds the girl dumped by the roadside, left behind like trash. crash. The camp surrounding the factory stretches on forever, a slaughterhouse fueled by desperation and greed. Meanwhile, Max infiltrates the grounds, climbing over the fence and vanishing into the maze of trucks and warehouses. At a nearby airfield, medics tend to Marie, who's barely clinging to life. Kaya, hardened but silent, leads her back to Sophie's side. Sophie had survived because of a bulletproof vest, but the cost is clear now. Kaya tells her coldly that she won't cover for her anymore. No more staged fires, no more orchestrated accidents. With that, Kaya walks away for good. The next morning, Marie wakes in her bed, aged and broken. She pleads with her mother to return her stolen youth. Sophie, emotionless, refuses. She promises to find another donor instead. Marie's strength, she says, is needed for the family's future. Sometime later, on a quiet beach, Max stands alone, staring at the endless waves. Near the shore, a visibly pregnant Ellen meets a new boyfriend, starting a fresh chapter of her life. She glances back, spotting Max watching from a distance. Their eyes meet for a heartbeat. Then, Max turns away, walking toward a waiting convoy. He climbs into a car marked with a symbol stitched onto his mask, the symbol of ADAM.